Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And we are now back with Timea Urban once again, the Urban Healer, joining us live from Canada. And she's here to help you worldwide today, as always. How are you, darling?
I'm amazing. How are you doing? Thank you for having
doing
me.
great. You look so sunny and fresh, always in the light colors. I noticed that about her. She's very bright and airy. I'm always like dark, black, beige today. But yes, welcome to the show, Reiki Master, RN, healer, and so much more. Please introduce yourself.
Okay, amazing. So my name is Timea Urban, the Urban Healer. I'm based out of Toronto, but I have clients all over the world because everything's virtual. So yay for that. Yay. I started off as becoming a nurse almost 10 years ago because I'm super passionate about helping people and helping people on their healing journey. And through that, I discovered that being a bedside nurse doesn't really get to do that. Yeah. So through my own healing journey, I discovered other modalities. So I like to use things that are a little bit older, ancient healing modalities, such as tapping or hypnosis, Reiki. So I kind of put everything together into this beautiful little bundle where you get a little bit of Eastern medicine, a little bit of Western medicine, a little bit of science-based, a little bit of woo-based, and together it's the perfect package.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. And for, months now, we've been friends with Timea, and she's here on the show enlightening us. And she always comes up with the most amazing topics to talk about. I just can't believe this girl has so much knowledge and wealth of information. We're talking about cycles today, cycle syncing. Exactly. What is that? Yes. Could you share a little bit?
So this is kind of funny because I'm obviously a nurse. I'm a healthcare professional. And I literally only found out about this maybe like 2 years ago. And I'm like, women don't know this. This is not common knowledge. And like, we are going to be talking about a menstrual cycle. So if this does not interest you, doesn't apply to you, just this was your warning. But please stay because it's really interesting.
And you can pass it along to that female friend or loved one in your life. Hello.
Absolutely. And you might be able to understand why they are a certain way in certain times of their month.
Yes.
Just saying. So that being said, yeah, no, it's true. Or like, you know when to come with ice cream. Be prepped. There you go. So that being said, us as women, we cycle through different hormones through a 28 to 30-day cycle. And that's very different from men who usually just reset within 24 hours. So they have no idea what this is. But that being said, we usually don't either. Like no one really sits down and talks to you about your cycle and the different hormones and what that means for your mood, for your energy, your productivity, what you should be eating, what kind of exercise should you be doing? Like you just kind of like, well, it is what it is. And then you have your bad days, you have your good days. But what if you kind of knew and could sync your life to your cycle and kind of also plan ahead to it? So there's certain times of the month you should be doing restorative yoga or just lying down. And there's certain times of the month where you should be kicking butt and like get out there and pick up a new project. But if you don't know that, then you're not really like using your body and working with your body. You're kind of like at war with it. And you're almost like, why aren't you working? What's wrong with you? When it's like, no, this is a hormone and this is happening and you should just have a better idea. So I wanted to dive into that. So even if you're like, no, I'm really going to do it, but just maybe food for thought, just check out how you are for the next month and be like, interesting. Interesting. That is how it came through for me. And then make tiny little tweaks that can make life feel better.
Awesome. I'm loving this topic today because I've never talked about it. I don't know much about it, but I'm here to learn as well with you all. Urban Healer is here. So we're going to talk about the 4 main phases of the menstrual cycle to start, right?
Yes. So you have your menstrual phase, your follicular phase, your ovulatory phase, and luteal phase. So whenever, like, let's say your doctor's like, what's the first day of your period? The first day you get your period is day 1 of your cycle. So FYI, that's what that is.
Wait, but then it gets confusing for someone who's done IVF. It's like, well, full flow, half flow, what is considered full day? And what my doctor always told me was it's got to be a full flow type situation. So if you start bleeding a little bit that day, and they don't count it. Do you agree?
True.
Right.
True.
Okay.
True. So that there's like, and that's the other thing, like some people will have a 28-day cycle or 27-day cycle. And then some people will have 30, 31, 33. Some people are irregular. So, I mean, this is also a very general, but then there are certain apps that you can download where it will monitor your cycle and then it'll kind of adjust.
Oh, that is so cool.
Just as it is pretty cool. So that being said, every single phase will have a different characteristic. So first phase is menstrual phase. That's when you actually get your period, and it's day 1 to 7 of the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, your estrogen, your follicle stimulating hormone, and luteinizing hormone are at their lowest, which means your energy is also low. I mean, are we surprised here? You're menstruating. Your body is literally bleeding,
Yeah.
and it takes a lot of energy to do that. And I'm sorry, but if a man was bleeding for 7 days, he would be useless.
Totally. Oh, I'm cramped. I'm tired.
You know what I
Oh,
mean? Like, oh, man cold. No offense, men. You guys are horrible when
I
it
can't
comes to
believe
that.
it. Oh
And
my
again, it's like,
God.
been a
True.
bedside nurse. I used to deal with a lot of young men, and I'd be like, oh God, you guys are so special. So back to our topic.
So special.
They
I
are.
love it.
That's like
I
its
love it.
own conversation we can maybe talk about
My
next
son's
week.
father, the kids are off all week, so
Mhm.
he was to take him for a few days. Came on Wednesday. Oh, I have a stomach ache. Took them out and then went home, and that was it. I'm like, really, really, like that's it. But okay, go ahead. Yeah,
Yeah, no, agreed. There you go. So again, your
not
energy is
all.
low. Most of them. Let's just be honest here.
Mhm.
So again, it's like your mood is going to be affected by the fact that you're tired. Your body is doing a lot of actual activity, and like you can feel it, and you shouldn't be doing much. So you might be less patient. You might be more triggered, and it's like you're less likely to let things go. And this isn't a like, oh my God, you're on your period. No, how about the things that you swallow throughout the like entire month and you just like let it slide? This is
Mhm.
when it's like the straw that broke the camel's back. And that's
Wow.
normal and it's totally fine. And this is maybe when you have that extra courage to actually like snip a little bit and say something to somebody. And hey, no judgment. One, it is your hormones. And two, this person has probably been bothering you for the entire month. And this is the final, like, okay, got it. So again, you want to be really mindful that your body's doing a lot. So you
Mhm.
should not be doing a lot. So
Okay.
in terms of your productivity, actually, I'm going to say that afterwards. In terms of your food, you want to be eating things that are high protein, high fat, because they're super wholesome and nourishing. And you don't really want to do a lot of refined foods or high sugar content, because that's going to give you a spike in your blood sugar and then a drop, and that's going to make you even more crusty. So even though you're
Yes.
craving those kind of things, have high protein, high fat,
Ah.
because that's actually what your body wants. And then you might not even have those crazy like cravings for the sugar. And again, you
Mhm.
want to have things that are like very easy to digest. So something that is like a stew, slow cooked, like really easy to digest. Not the time to have celery sticks. Also, I've never wanted a celery stick ever, let alone when I'm on my period. I
Right.
can
I know.
guarantee
I
you that.
agree. I agree.
No, thank you. In terms of exercise, you should be resting and recharging. So gentle yoga, going for a walk. You need to sleep more. It's totally okay. But then, in terms of your productivity, this is actually the perfect time for you to really reflect. And you want to ask yourself, like, what worked this past month? How can I change that for next month? And this is where your left and your right side of your brain are at its best in terms of communication. So you might have a lot of really big ideas coming through. So if you are a business owner and you're about to like launch something, this is when you want to brainstorm. And like this is
Really?
when you want to literally reflect. And like again, it totally makes sense. You should be lying down, not pushing yourself. And the moment you
Mhm.
lie down and you're not doing, you're being, and your mind can process things. So again, if something really bothered you, rather than being like, oh my God, I'm so hormonal, being like, have you been bothering me for 3 weeks? And this is when it
Yeah.
finally hit me. Huh. Interesting. So like food for
Huh.
thought, ladies.
Huh.
Food
Huh. I
for
love it.
thought.
I've got it. I love this.
There
These
you
are
go.
good notes today.
I know. I know. I was like inspired and I was like typing that last night. I'm like, I can't wait to talk about this.
Oh.
There you go. So the next phase is the follicular phase, and this is
Mhm.
day 7 to 12 in your cycle.
Okay.
This is when your estrogen is starting to rise. And once your estrogen is starting to rise, you're going to be more playful, more lively, more curious. This is when you have a higher tolerance for stress. You're going to be better with your communication, less likely to snip at somebody, and you're less on edge. So you're more fun, you're more easygoing. People are like, wow, you're so funny. You're like, yeah, I know. So this is the time.
I was such a dud
Exactly.
last week, but because that was just so the menstrual phase.
It is. And then again, it's like if you actually like lie down and chilled and processed, you're going to be even better when you get
Yeah,
into this phase. And like we all feel better once our period goes away, but
of
like it's also
course.
because of the estrogen. So in terms of your productivity, this is a great time for you to start a new project, a new hobby, something that is like high energy. Your
Mm-hmm.
motivation is high. So this is like, if you are wanting to go to the gym and start a new membership, start it now because your body is ready for it and you're going to be more motivated to actually do it. So again, try something new. In terms of your exercise, you can do your HIIT, you can do your CrossFit, you can do kettlebells, super high intensity because you literally have the energy to do it.
Yeah.
And then for your nutrition though, which is interesting, you will have a lower metabolic need. So really you shouldn't be eating as much. And again, if you had your hearty meals during your menstrual cycle, you're good and you're not starving. And if you didn't eat crap
Yeah.
food, which means then you're not detoxing and feeling crappy about it, if you had those good wholesome meals, you're totally a-okay to have like a lower caloric intake during this phase. If you want to entertain things like intermittent fasting or keto, again, always do this with a medical professional, just saying, everyone's different,
Mm-hmm.
but you're okay to eat less carbs. You're okay to like focus more on those healthy fats. And that's also what is recommended in this phase. So things like avocados are going to be the perfect thing to prep your body for the next phase, which is ovulation. So you might want to consider lighter cooking, like sauteing, steaming, and having those healthy fats, because then again, it preps you for your next phase. It all
Wow.
makes sense. It
Wow, it is a
all,
lot that we have to go through, men. I
yeah,
mean, I hope there's men
yeah,
listening that didn't tune out
yeah,
because it makes so much more sense to him. They,
yeah,
they think we're crazy times of the month, but and all
yeah.
this that we're going through, it's a lot. Men don't have to worry about any of this, do they?
No, no, they don't. And it's like they just reset every single day. They're like, okay, I'm awake. Okay, going to bed. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm awake. That's it. And it's like we have that. And it's like also we're very affected by the season. So it's like during the dead of the winter, you should not be like hustling, bustling, pushing, pushing. You need to bring down your energy and settle and ground and sleep more and rest more and hibernate. And it's like men are just not affected as much by these cycles.
Mm-hmm.
We're cyclical beings.
Wow.
So for us to force ourselves to be so masculine and just like reset every day, we're not working with our body. And
Yeah.
like that is one thing that is really important for me to like remind women of, just like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Have you slept? No. Okay.
That could be an issue. That could be why. Mm-hmm.
And it's like you have to honor these phases. And it's like when you start to kind of like look at your cycle, whether it's 20 to 30 days, whatever it is, and you look at your month, you're not going to like shove a huge like project in the middle of your menstrual cycle. You'll be like, how about 3 days later when I'm actually done?
Yeah.
And then that is when I'm going to have the energy to do that. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like for those business owners who are like, when should I launch my next program? Don't launch it when your energy is low and you're like, I don't want to do this. This sucks. Cause like if you're energetically be like, oh my God, I hope no one signs up. I'm really tired. I don't want to do
Yeah.
this. You're not going to get the
I
clients that
know.
you want.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Got
So
it.
then be mindful of where you are in your phase and plan your month ahead, or just try. And it's like, even like when I'm on my menstrual cycle, I'm not going to be like, sure, let's have a family function. I'm going to be like, oh, I'm just going to lie down.
Mm-hmm. I've
Next week, I can handle it. Let's go.
yeah.
So just food for thought. So then the next phase is the ovulatory phase. And this is going to be around 12 to 16 day of your cycle. Again, everyone's different. So you can check in with your doctor in terms of your hormones and where you're at. But here, your estrogen, your luteinizing hormone, your follicle stimulating hormone are at their highest. So when they're at the highest, your energy is also going to be at the highest. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, this
Like,
makes sense if you
yeah.
think about it. You're ovulating, you want to be attracting the right person.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to talk about like just primal instinct, this is when you want to be lively and be like, hey, I'm amazing, let's mate.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. That's what.
straight
Mm-hmm.
up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. So again, your energy is super up there, your mood is confident, you're going to be expressive, you're going to be outgoing, you're going to be social. This is the best time for you to do things that are like networking,
Mm-hmm.
because you are vibrant and magnetic. Like people are gonna be like, oh my God, what's going on? And you're like, I'm ovulating. Thank
And they're
you.
attracted to you. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So that do your presentations, have like your big launch of your program, because like literally people are going to be like, I don't know, but there's like a glow to you. I'm so intrigued. Tell me more. This is your time to speak up, shine, be out there. Also, your body is going to be able to handle more and with more ease. And it's again so true. At this part of your cycle, you can handle anything and you got the energy for it and you're like, let's go. But then if this was in like the middle of your menstrual cycle, you're like, I can't do life. I'm leaving my business. I just want to like curl up into like a blanket. Again, makes sense, but you can't shame yourself and your body for like, you suck. Why are you tired? Because you have your menstrual cycle. I'm sorry. It's
No.
biology.
Yeah.
It's science, guys. Like, be kind to your body. So again, this is going to be a time where you actually don't need as many calories as well. You want to be focusing on the high protein, high fat. You don't need as many carbs. You may want to consider eating more raw vegetables and fruit, or just increasing your fiber. So when you increase your fiber during this time, it actually helps you clear some of the extra estrogen because again, your estrogen's high. And then sometimes having too much estrogen is what can cause the PMS for you prior to getting your period, which I actually did not know. And I was like, interesting. And then in terms of your exercise, you may want to do things that are more group oriented. So go for like a group run or do a spin class, do team sports. But again, you want to be networking and out around with people because you have a lot of energy. You're going to be feeding off their energy. It kind of just works out really well together.
Wow.
Interesting, eh? I know.
Yeah, well, let me just ask you. So do you recommend that women, we go to the, doctor, it's important to go, but to get all levels tested, because some of us, I'm 44 and I know people that were 40 who went through like menopause. I don't think I'm going through it yet at all. I still, right. But like, do you recommend following up with your doctor first? How do you know if you're really in these phases the right way? And it could be someone in their 20s, 30s. It doesn't have to be someone
Totally.
40s or 50s, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just going to be speaking as like personal information as opposed to a medical professional because everyone is different. But one, you can go see a doctor or naturopath to get your hormone levels checked. You can also do something like getting an ovulation stick. So it's like a pregnancy stick, but you just like dip it in pee and it can tell you whether you're ovulating or not. I think it's really important for women to, I do it. I have an app on my phone where like I actually put in like have my period, ending my period. And then from there, I can kind of figure out when I should be ovulating, use an ovulation stick, make sure that it is happening at that time. Then you can like mark that. And then it's like, if your period sometimes resets, which happens throughout the year, it's normal. Like, don't be concerned of it, but just start tracking. And once you start tracking, you'll notice like, is it regular? Is it not? Oh, last week I was on a 28-day cycle and this time I'm 35 days. Oh, interesting. And then again, it's like, you may want to just start your own tracking and then go see a doctor. I don't know, like in the States, I assume you have to just pay for all of these tests because it's not like essential.
Yeah, no, no, some are included, like the gynecologist, like that's if your yearly checkup and all. But yeah, if, like the specific hormonal test, they do like the luteinizing hormone, the FSH, LH. I'm trying to think of my medical records, but the other ones that you need, like they don't. So yeah.
Yeah. So, this is my own biased opinion. I really like going to a naturopath because sometimes when you go to a regular medical doctor, it's like, it's all fine. I'm like, okay, thanks. But then a naturopath might choose more specific tests and go into more detail. And even if you're within the normal range, but you're near the low, they might like investigate and see what they can adjust, as opposed to medical doctors like check, 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 perfect.
Yeah.
And that being said, I love my GP and she's incredible. She's not a normal GP. I am blessed, but most people don't have that luxury. So that being said, it's like, you got to do it on your own. You got to start on your own in terms of checking. And like, I remember when I was nursing, I didn't know what freaking day it was ever, let alone when my period was coming.
Well, I don't even know. Today, the 24th, 20th. I just looked 25th. Yeah. I know. When you're busy working, you're so sometimes into things you don't even
100%. And it's like, now like add in like a full-time job, add in some kids, you have a pet, you have a side hustle, you're trying to exercise, your friend's having some issues. Like, you don't know what day it is. So track it. It's something that I just do on a regular basis. And then it also like, I have a record. So if I were to go see my doctor and they're like, oh, when was your last period? I'm like, yeah, let me check my app. Sad, but true. And then also know that sometimes your body will reset. And this might be like a whole other conversation, but most women end up having the menstrual cycle and their ovulation with the moon. So whether it's a full moon or a new moon, And it's actually wild because you're just like, what? It doesn't make sense. But
Uh-huh.
most women will sync up with one of them. And then for me, like, and a lot of women do this, sometimes you flip in between and then you're like almost like a little bit late, little bit late, little late, and then you flip to the other cycle. And that's why sometimes your menstrual cycle is called your moon cycle or your moon
Okay.
phase. And I
Got
was
it.
like, what? I'm like, this feels
I'm like, who,
witchy,
what?
but it makes
Uh-huh.
sense. Whoa,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, whoa. So also just like food for thought. And in case you don't menstruate with the moon, like there's nothing wrong with you. Don't worry. But like it's something that some people are more aligned to. And that on its own, like the moon has a lot of energy and it like affects the tide of like an ocean. We are mainly water. Of course, it's going to affect us as well. And I will like honestly say when I was nursing, anytime there was a full moon, you're literally like your patients turn into zombies and like wild beings. And you're just like, oh, it's a full moon. Oh
I get
my.
it. Yeah.
Everyone falls. There's more accidents. There's more
That
ambulance
is
calls.
crazy, but it's so true.
Like it's always like that. And it's like your emerge department has extra staff. They're nervous. Ambulances are waiting for weird things to happen. Like it's just like, don't tell me there isn't something to that. Like that's not woo. Like there's like stats on this. Come on, guys.
Mm-hmm.
So again, interesting food for thought. So for our last phase is the luteal phase, and this is going to be day 17 to about 28, 30. Again, depends on how your cycle is. And this is where your progesterone peaks and then your estrogen peaks again. In terms of your energy, at about day 21, you're going to start having a decrease of energy. And this is kind of having to do with just the hormones changing. And then it's like kind of like the PMS. And I hate how like people like abuse that. Like, oh, are you PMSing? Stop. Like, it's just
Yeah.
hormones.
Yeah.
Thank
Mm-hmm.
you. But this is where you might notice that you're wanting to like finish things up. So it's like in terms of your productivity, you want to complete your projects because your energy is starting to come to an end and you're prepping for your menstrual cycle where you should be resting. So you want to finish up that project so you're not
Mm-hmm.
like struggling while you're menstruating. This is going to also be when you're hungrier and your metabolic rate increases by like 10 to 15%. Hence, like I know I go wild and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I require like a full extra meal. I'm like, are you
Yeah.
down with that? Because I'm going to have that. Thank you. So you should actually increase your caloric intake by about 300 to 400 calories, which is like substantial. Like that could be like a light meal. But you want to have, this is when you want to have more carbs. So complex carbs, more natural sugars like from like, let's say fruits. And this is going to give you an increase in your serotonin and your dopamine levels, which can actually affect your mood, i.e. improve your mood as you're getting rid of that extra estrogen so you don't PMS.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. And now in terms of cooking, you want to maybe like slow roast or bake things because that actually brings out the natural sugars of your foods. And then you're going to be able to have that as like a benefit. In terms of exercise, you might want to dive into more like Pilates, yoga. You want to start like moving into things that are more restorative and more low intensity. This is not the time to do HIIT and maybe not a group exercise because you might be starting to get a little bit crustier and that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And in terms of your mood, what's interesting is your progesterone is actually an anti-anxiety hormone. So it allows you to feel more relaxed. And again, this is a good thing because it's like you're starting to relax slow because you're coming off from like that high intensity and you want to be like starting to settle so you can like get into your restorative part of your cycle because again, you're
Mm-hmm.
resetting. But then again, you may be a little bit more sensitive and you might have a greater range of emotions. How about that? And that's okay. But then this is a good opportunity for you to be like, okay, I'm going into this. And if I'm getting more sensitive or more teary, be compassionate. Like, one, it is your hormones. And two, are you still doing the HIIT class? Are you still trying to launch a new project? Are you not eating more?
Mm-hmm.
You might be crusty because you're hungry. I
Yeah.
know I get like hungry if I don't have enough food, just saying.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, be gracious, be compassionate, set tighter boundaries, especially with yourself. And like, be like kind of just like, okay, am I really going to push myself right now? Do I have to, or can this wait a little bit? Because like, if I can push through it, but I'm going to hate it and be crusty, or I can wait a little bit and then be at my best on the other phases. And again, like these are hormones. This is science. move with your body, work with
And
your body.
and don't we have like cravings of certain foods around,
Yep.
was that the menstrual, when we have our periods at the menstrual phase?
You actually tend to have more
Or
cravings prior to, and then when
so
you're in the menstrual phase, it might be more of like a comforting because you're
so
so
the
tired that
luteal
you're,
phase, then towards the
yeah,
end of that, before the menstruals, when we start craving the,
yeah,
some people crave ice cream, I crave potato
yeah,
chips. I mean, everyone
yeah,
has their sugary sweet
yeah,
or whatever it
yeah.
is.
But then listen, that makes sense because like you're craving a complex carb, but you could, instead of having the chips, make sweet potato fries.
Yeah. You said bake.
And then like,
I'm thinking fried, but yes, I know. Baked
hey,
Lays or regular Lays. They're still both good, but
I
okay.
mean, both are great. No, but I get it. And it's like your body's craving that. And I mean, again, this could be like a whole other conversation, but your cravings, they're not just there for fun. They're there because you have an imbalance in your body. So sometimes when
Mhm.
you're craving something salty, like your chips, it might just be because you don't have enough salt in your diet or you're missing trace minerals that you can just buy and add to your water. I know when I started using trace minerals, please consult a medical professional before using
Yes.
anything. But if you use the trace minerals, I like my cravings got cut in half because your body is like asking for these minerals that are lacking in your diet. And it's sometimes tricky to make sure you get everything of everything. Like I don't like manage my micronutrients and like write them down. I just kind of like eat
Yeah.
what's in front of me. So the trace minerals make sure that you get the things that you don't, and anything in excess, you just pee it out and it's totally fine. But for me, like it made a huge difference. And then it was really, I was just thirsty and my trace minerals were off. It wasn't hunger, but I'm not used to listening to my body and being intuitive with it. So I just assumed it was food and that's what I went for.
Wow. I've
So
been
yeah.
craving my whole life. This is funny. Maybe it doesn't have to do with menstrual cycles or anything, but speaking of cravings, I've always craved vinegar. And my sister does, my
Interesting.
brother does. And
Huh,
even when I was little, we asked the doctor why, and the doctors they
yeah.
had no idea why. They just said,
Huh.
well, it could potentially expand, keep your arteries clearer, whatever's in the vinegar, I forget now, and it can keep you maybe
Mhm.
living longer. I said, but why am I craving it? And it's not. It's
Huh.
all different times of the month. It's just something. Have you ever heard of anyone with a vinegar
Interesting.
craving?
No, I actually hate vinegar. So I'm just like, oh,
Isn't that
why?
weird? To like drink it. I
Yeah.
like, yeah, like I drink it. I'll put it in
Interesting.
water, and like my
Yeah.
sister loved the vinegar potato chips. And then I,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, just
Yeah.
curious.
But it's
I think
like,
I'm
if you're
lacking something to crave that. Like, but what but part of vinegar is
100%.
really good for you?
Yeah, no, but 100%. It's like you don't just crave things for no reason. And it's like that goes down to anything to do with your body. It's like if someone like pushed you and then you snapped on them, it probably wasn't a one-time deal. It's probably someone who's pushed your boundaries over and over again, or it's something similar to someone else who's always done it. So it's like we always react a certain way, or like suddenly you're having tension and like your back is hurting or you're getting tension headaches. It's not just there because like the universe is like, here's a headache, or your body's
Yeah.
like, ah, here you go. It's no, 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 no. You're in like a dyssynchrony with your environment and like with your lifestyle, and there's something that needs to be adjusted. And like I know for me, the moment I start getting headaches, I'm like, I'm doing too much. Or the moment I start getting like low back pain, it's like, oh, something's stressing me out. And I'm like clenching. And it's like, that's why I think it's so important for people to be more in tune with their physical body, especially women, because we're cyclical beings,
Yeah.
of just like, not like, I have a headache, take a Tylenol. It's like, okay, take the Tylenol, drink more water, see, but then be like, why does that always come back? And then start like looking into what your environment's like, or what was your day like? What were you doing when that happened? Have you been on your computer for 11 hours?
Yeah.
So always kind of look at the bigger picture, take a step back and just have a different perspective, because your body doesn't scream at you for no reason. And
You're
it's like
right.
those bigger illnesses
You
are
have
literally disease. You're out of ease of your environment and your body, and there's like a disconnect. And that's why like I struggle with Western medicine sometimes, when it's like, here's a pill, there's some side effects, here's some more pills for those side effects. Why is it happening? Here are your pills. And I'm like,
okay. So
there's
we're
more.
treating symptoms, but we're not curing the underlying cause and the
Mhm.
figuring out the source of the problem. Yep, I get it. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, it's always look at the why. How did it start? What is the root of it? Because if you don't get rid of the root of it, it's going to continue coming back and you're
It'll
not
linger.
living
It'll
life to the
linger.
best.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that is my food for thought for today.
Beautiful. I love it. Always a great conversation, sweetheart. How can we reach out to you, work with you, and just, if you don't mind, just listing some of the other services you
Yes.
provide again, since we are at the end of the show. People in the beginning may not be listening, tapping, Reiki.
All the things. So I am a life coach. I'm an NLP practitioner. I do tapping. Right now, if you want to reach out, it's theurbanhealer.ca, CA because I'm in Canada. On Instagram, I'm at the.urban.healer. I do have a group coaching program starting March the 6th. We meet on Sundays. I do have my Reiki certifications always available and ready for you, and a Reiki Master mentorship starting March 14th. Got any questions? DM me, email me. I'm here for it.
Awesome. Love talking to you, sweetheart. You have a great day and even a better weekend.
Amazing. Thank you. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, sweetheart. TGIF. Talk soon.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you can now listen live on the MyTuner Radio and online Radio Box apps for iOS, Android, and the Amazon App Store. Or check us out online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on onlineradiobox.com/US so you don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.